Hi there, you're in the Ethereum Wyckoff session. So including all the support resistance level, the Wyckoff pattern in the weekly chart. Today we'll also cover Wyckoff on the daily chart because one of you asked for it, so let's have fun and get to see what the chart are showing us. So daily first? No, of course not, because weekly always governs how far daily can go. So we'll always start with weekly first and get a better sense of what's happening before we get to daily. So we talked about the automatic rally during the accumulation phase, and then there's the price is still basically playing around these three lines: the purple, the blue, and the yellow. Of course the white as well, so we'll cover all. So assuming the blue is still the support level, currently the red cross this week is around that level, that's around $2,500. The next resistance will be the purple line at around 3,000. Immediate support, the yellow, would be 2200, 2200, and then the white line is gradually going up. This is basically the top edge of the long-term playground zone. You see quite a long period of time Ethereum is being traded within this white box. So that one is climbing closer and closer to 2,200. So volume itself has been declining over the past 4 weeks, and basically at this stage of accumulation we expect some kind of fluctuation, and there are always ups and downs. However, one key point is, if we look at this selling climax, the low point, the subsequent test can go lower than that point. So don't be shocked if that happens, because if you look at here, those levels are very close to the selling climax. Some of the tests, probably not just here, this spot is probably lower than the selling climax. So just to make sure you know there is such potential. So into the daily chart. Daily, previously the yellow one, we talked about is the interim downward trend, but it bounced back pretty quickly, and now we can get rid of it and just look at currently what's happening. Especially we'll add in the fun thing, the Wyckoff tax. So immediately this pink box over here, we covered a couple of times that this should be the trading area, the playground zone between 2400 and mid 2700. So if we look at the line chart, that's pretty much what the price has been doing since early May. I want this one. So now to put in the tax for Wyckoff, I just want to make sure it doesn't go to the weekly. Okay, it looks clean. So let's say that was the buying climax for Ethereum. So immediately follows, we saw an automatic reaction. Okay. And then a couple of second tests over here. I don't want to make the chart too busy. I will just put 1 second test, and eventually there was an up thrust. So basically you can treat them all as tests. It doesn't matter how we name them. And then eventually, of course, on the lower side we've got the sign of weakness, and this one can be another sign of weakness as well. Then we have this, we'll tag it as LPSY for now, unless an up thrust of the distribution happens. However, at this point, unless on the weekly time frame there is a sign of strength happening, or like something that pops up here, I will consider that a sign of strength, likely. We'll see when it happens. Otherwise, it's very difficult to have an up thrust after distribution in the daily chart. So let's keep the tax here for now, and if the price really comes down from this distribution, then it will eventually come down to test the, obviously the pink, 2300 roughly, and then the white around 2100, and eventually to this level at around 1800. So in terms of the daily chart with the Wyckoff analysis applied, that's how I would see it. And if we want to also put in the previous accumulation cycle as well, just to have a reference, we have the selling climax, probably around here. This one is likely a second test, and besides the selling climax, we had this automatic rally. Well, actually, sorry, I should move it here. That was it here. That was the preliminary support, yes. And then finally, I would say this is more like a spring that shakes out more people, and then eventually the backup last point of support, and then boom, there it goes. So you can say this is automatic rally, and then immediately follows there was a sign of strength. That's also fine. The key is we see this bounce up and then more like a flat. So there is a line here, and this is more like a flat base, and that's a good foundation for whatever pump that's coming. So what we are trying to look for is, if the coming weeks we observe these kind of accumulation pattern, maybe that's the time where Ethereum is ready for another pump. Well, sometimes people would say this looks like that as well, like, where is this the spring or sign of weakness, and like is it are we going into the backup or last point of support period, and is this the sign of strength instead? Well, normally I would look at it as whether there was a previous drop. Here there was no drop over here, so I would presume this is more like a distribution period instead of like plugging in these stacks. So that's how I look at it. Hope you like the new Wyckoff analysis in a more frequent time frame, and then if you have more like any views about what's next for Ethereum or any other altcoins or even Bitcoin, feel